Welcome to Forgemaster Metal Reviews. We're here in Portland to check out Obsidian Tongue at Gino's. Let's do it. I'm here with Brendan and Ray from Obsidian Tongue. I asked you guys to pick some of your favorite metal records from the fall, so let's kick it off with your first pick.
What's the first one?
I guess we would have to unanimously choose Morning Rise. I think it's kind of where both of our interests in extreme metal kind of started.
You can hear it,
probably
for sure.
Opeth, I think, was probably the first really big one. And as far as that autumn vibe that a lot of people are looking for with metal, it's like nostalgic. Something that like is one of the first extreme things you got into. It's obviously going to be the most nostalgic, so it's almost like you can't not listen to that one at least once.
You can definitely hear it in like the progressions and the way that you guys compose, especially like in the drumming and the crossover of long melodic passages. Totally see that. For the people who aren't familiar with Obsidian Tongue, one of the things that is like my favorite part of your band in particular is so much sound comes from two people. How do you compose your music to cover that full spectrum despite it just being two people?
Yeah, that's a funny question. We did a lot with two for a really long time. I think covered a ton of ground, but now we're three, which I'm really excited about. I think that element, it hasn't really been missing, or you might not miss it, but it adds a lot, and it's very exciting to have it. So these two shows have been our first with a live bassist.
No kidding.
Our new material is composed with bass. I think for the first time, takes it to a whole nother level. It's really cool. I'm thrilled.
Are you excited about that too?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Especially like having been the bass player first, as you guys probably know. To finally like actually incorporate bass instead of kind of, it was almost like denying that interest in bass initially. Having played only bass and then getting interested in guitar was kind of made sense for black metal. Have this kind of empty, like lonely kind of sound with just one guitar. But naturally, just being interested in, I think, like progressive music, and the composition started to build up anyway and get bigger and bigger, and eventually it was kind of like, okay, I don't know how much more you can do with like the kind of guitar style, and it almost kind of makes the guitar writing stronger, because there's just something like reinforcing the lower end.
And I could see like a lot of creativity coming in with that. And you know, you said that you're a bass player yourself. Are you part of the writing of the bass parts? Who's the new member?
So I write all the bass parts and record them and everything. Even with the old songs, I kind of wrote what I think makes sense for the old songs too. Brian Tennyson is the live bass player.
Nice.
He's from a band called Eve, who's also on Bind Rune and been a good friend of ours for a long time.
Hell yeah.
Live sound engineer for Falls of Rose. He used to be the house guy at this venue too.
No shit.
So when we
Cool.
used to play this venue all the time, he was always our sound guy.
What's your next pick for fall metal record?
This question made me think about a certain feeling, and I remembered not that long ago, I don't know, less than 10 years ago, down at the Palladium, I saw Blind Guardian play right around Halloween. I've been a Blind Guardian fan for a long time, but Imaginations is my album pick for fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is super unexpected. But also it kind of makes sense at the same time. There's a lot of folk elements. It's very epic, colorful, you know, kind of like the fall. Being in Falls of Rurros yourself, obviously that Tolkien kind of vibe kind of makes sense too. when you first started, you were in the Boston area, and then you sort of transplanted to Portland, and it's turned into what you have today. You know, what can you say about, in general, like metal in New England? Like you guys are about to drop this new EP. Are you excited that it's sort of taking root in this area, and do you have that platform that you're looking for?
The whole New England area definitely all feels like one scene. There's not Boston and then Maine and then Vermont. Like there is to an extent, but for the most part, if there's a good show in any of those states, like everyone travels to that state, you know. So it's the whole area, and it's definitely a shared vibe to a certain extent across the states that I feel, and that I think some other people feel.
Well, you got people like us who, like, we made the trip today up to Maine just to see a metal show. You're right. I feel like it's kind of just this one big family, and everyone gets excited to go to these things, and it's a great time. But you know, you guys have this new EP coming out. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I feel like it's a new chapter for the band. You know, it's a 3-song EP called the Stoneheart EP. It's actually has some remnants from the Volume 3 writing sessions, with a bunch of new stuff added to it. Also, a couple of brand new songs that were written during the pandemic, basically. That was kind of the first part of, I think, lockdown, was like me writing that stuff and sending you the demos, and we were kind of working it out. And then once we actually started rehearsing in person, we also went back to the skeleton of the 4th album that we had already started. And then we finished that. Then there was even another song that was almost feels like a continuation of said 4th album. We have this like trinity almost of recordings from COVID period that were starting off with this EP. I feel like it was a good first release. I think it's some of our strongest stuff, but it's also very much a continuation, I think, of Volume 3.
Yeah,
it has the same kind of atmosphere, and you know, it's progressive, but it's not like banging you over the head with progressive.
Well, you guys have always kind of been that way. You know, you're sort of progressive leaning, and you have like these psychedelic sections that kind of remind you of Pink Floyd does black metal sometimes, but then you pull us back into black metal again. There's those little reminders that I think that makes you guys really unique.
Yeah, so the other exciting thing about the EP is, as Brendan said, we've got a whole bunch of material, and this allows us to be more exploratory with the production, kind of see what's working. We've got bass now, and just exploring different territories there that we can build on and go in other directions with the next material and the next material.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. You said the title was Stoneheart?
The Stoneheart EP.
When is that coming out? Do you guys have a loose date for it?
We don't have a set date yet, but I would say within the next 2 months probably.
Okay, awesome. So third pick for fall record.
I think the other one that we both agreed on that's very nostalgic and foundational for us is Brave Murder Day
That's what's up.
by Catatonia. It's hard to pick, again, just because, honestly, I think most of the music that we like and are inspired by is very, very autumnal in nature anyway. It's like almost like anything that I like listening to is like, it works with the fall.
Yeah.
You know, but that just seemed like the one that you're going to feel the most nostalgia with, I think.
It's funny when you listen to that album and Morning Rise together, you know, obviously because you have Michael on both records.
Yeah.
But like, it's so funny how such different records have similar vibes. Like, it's like going to the drive-in and watching like a double feature.
They both really work with New England too. That's the thing.
They do.
Like we live in the place, like the ultimate place for autumn. I think just autumn feelings and scenery, and just putting either of those on, it really works if you're walking around some weird old New England town like the ones that we grew up in. You know.
I call you guys psychedelic black metal. I don't know if that's really the tag, but to me, you guys wear it proudly. What is the atmosphere that you're like, we have to nail this when you guys are writing a tune?
This thing is, it's almost kind of a mystery, you know, but there's something that each song has that it's like, you know what it is, but you also don't know what it is. You build around it.
Yeah.
You know, without disrupting it. It's like, you know what a certain phrase feels like, and then you just keep carefully adding to that until every other little part of the stream of consciousness is cohesive. Like it's like that same feeling from beginning to end, no matter how much you change it.
Would you say it's like very visual in nature, the way you guys write your tunes?
In the kind of like an introspective way, almost like imagining. It's like almost like inner world more so than the outer world. I think there's like too much fixation on like your surroundings and your environment, like where in the country you live or where in the world you live with metal these days. It's always, I don't think it matters as much as people think. So it's all pretty introspective music, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like your world, it's your inner world.
There's something to that. Funny how you have Norwegian black metal or Swedish black metal. You're absolutely right. Like I think back in the day when it was first starting, sure it kind of mattered, but now everybody's got their own way of interpreting and putting that stuff down onto a recording. Like what would you even call US black metal now? It's such a mixture of like everything.
Yeah.
You know?
We're just us. We're just our own band, you know. We're not New England black metal even or anything like that. It's just our version of it. And I think we, you know, as far as that atmosphere you were talking about, I do think maybe like some sort of dream logic is definitely like a big guiding light.
It's always a sonic adventure, diving into the songs and seeing how they develop, because they do have a life of their own, and it's sort of a dreamlike meandering path that you just kind of get on in your ears. It tells its own story. It has a life of its own. Each song is itself. And
yeah. And that's the fun of it, right?
That is the fun of it.
Yeah.
That's also the issue that we've had with recent stuff, because it's like how we finished Volume 3. It's like what do you call this album? Because every single song was very much its own little beginning and ending thing.
I think Stoneheart's a rad name. Those are two words that don't really work together, but when you put it in the context of the record.
It's kind of one of those, I know it's cliche to say, it has a lot of different meanings and you can interpret it your own way, but the combination of words does work in a lot of different ways, which I think is kind of interesting.
What's the last record you have, and then go through any promo?
So, warning, watching from a distance. It's just such a solid album and very moving, and I think it goes really well with autumnal changes and driving around and feeling the air change. That's a great album.
Yeah, it's perfect for this time of year.
Just thinking about it, I get tingly. So good.
Stoneheart EP comes out in the next couple of months. Any shout outs you want to give?
No, we don't have any friends.
That's
no, I'm kidding. I guess we'd have to definitely give a big thanks to our mixing engineer, Dave Kaminsky from Studio Wormwood, for making this new EP sound pretty perfect.
He always kills it.
We've kind of grown together. It's been pretty interesting because obviously he did the Lakeside Redemption EP and then he did Volume 3, and now doing this with him. Our music definitely matured since we last worked together, and I think his work has as well.
Yeah.
Something that I feel like is pretty perfect, and
he's making a name for himself too. You know, he did the Fires in the Distance record. He's doing some killer things, and it's cool to see you guys growing together. You know.
I guess I would also mention too. So we were really lucky with the cover art. We're using a painting by a Swiss painter named Peter Burkhauser, who was active in the mid-1900s mostly. He painted his dreams, basically. He was a professional painter, then he started to paint his dreams. He had kind of come across Carl Jung's psychology, because from the same country, and they were active in the exact same period of time, and they actually became friends. He read his work, and his reaction was to start remembering, trying to write down his dreams right away and then paint them. He has this insane body of work and just like these kind of dream structures and stuff. And so we were lucky enough to get permission from his official foundation over in Switzerland.
That is awesome.
To use a couple of his paintings for the two EPs that we have coming out. So
that's perfect.
Yeah, and there's an instrumental track on the album that we decided to just name after the painting.
Stoneheart EP comes out in the next couple of months. Thanks, guys. This was great. Have a great show tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
See you guys soon.
Nice to meet you.